Shabbat Shalom. Separate from the fact that it is Shabbat this week and on this day, today is not an official Jewish holiday otherwise. Christmas Day, in fact, has become what I would call a Jewish unholiday, a day when we don't have any clear instructions as to what we are to do. Our offices are closed, the world is quiet, but not a day when the Jewish community has any rituals to perform. No glass to raise for Kiddush or kugel to eat. As our Christian friends and family get dressed up, attend church, fill their homes with decorations, our homes are somewhat quiet today. In fact, we've perhaps made a habit of doing whatever is the opposite of this day for many of our neighbors who are celebrating their big holiday. As the Christian world gathers, we go out to movie theaters where we can sit, not in conversation, but watch and listen. As they eat home-cooked meals, we fill Chinese restaurants. As they get dressed up, we stay in our pajamas. Christmas has become our unholiday, our day of being distinguished from our Christian family and friends. So often we have fallen into a habit in our world is referring to people as Jewish or non-Jewish. It's not the best terminology, but we use it nonetheless. But today is like an opposite day. Today is the one day a year when we so fervently feel not that we are defined by Jewish or not Jewish, but we define ourselves as non-Christian. And to a degree, we take some pride in that. But I don't have to tell you that this Christian holiday, this Jewish unholiday, are different this year than they would be any other year. Perhaps with the exceptions of a tree and some lights, people's homes are quite similar, whether they're Jewish or not. Just as we may have said a few months ago that Rosh Hashanah did not feel like Rosh Hashanah, I imagine our Christian friends and family today saying that Christmas does not feel like Christmas. As today is Christmas and Shabbat. It is in fact a day that does not have to divide and distinguish us from each other. Today I have a pretty good sense of what it feels like to be a Christian minister, because today, for them, is a lot like what I felt like as a rabbi this past September. And I have a pretty good sense of what it feels like to be the child of Christian parents, even though I never have been, because I remember what it felt like to be separated from family at a time when we have always been together. And I remember what it felt like to eat a festive meal at the same table I eat at every night. No days of endless preparation for the big holiday to come, no extra chairs pulled into the dining room, no stretching the table out with fancy decorations. We know what this feels like because we were there. Which brings me to the opportunity of this day. Today may be the only Christmas where we are not defined by what distinguishes us as non-Christians on this unholiday. Today can be a Christmas and a Shabbat, a holiday for Jew and Christian alike, when we are brought closer together, where we celebrate together. So often, it is through our sacrifices and our struggles, at times when we miss something, when we long for something that we cannot have, when something seems to have been taken from us. It's in these struggles that we find our deepest sense of humanity, our sense of brotherhood and sisterhood with one another. And so let us take this opportunity, this very different day, as an opportunity not to be separated, but an opportunity to be drawn closer together. In 1960, Pope John the 23rd, one of the most popular popes of all time, was implementing massive changes in the Roman Catholic Church, changes that we have come to know as the Second Vatican Council, or short, Vatican II. Vatican II opened a dialogue for the Catholic Church in the 1960s with the modern world, and especially with the Jewish world. And opening that conversation that had been left in the margins, or perhaps even worse, a very challenging conversation and pointed conversation, had been previously unimaginable until Pope John came along. Through his research, the Pope came to understand some of the Catholic Church's anti-Semitic philosophies that had been practiced and embodied over the centuries. More specifically, he came to understand the influence that they had on the very recent hateful acts and murders during the Holocaust. And he had the courage to speak out about these atrocities and to help turn the Catholic Church toward modernity and toward a Jewish community that they could embrace. It was a new dialogue and a new view from both sides. Celebrating this turn, leaders in the Jewish community presented a Torah scroll to the Pope. And he, in response, shared the following verse from the story of Joseph, the story we tell this week in our Torah portion. Looking at the gathering of over 100 Jewish leaders from across the world, he said words quite familiar to them, but ones they never thought would come from a man like him. He said, "Among us, there must ever be the brightness of love and its practice. For," quoting Genesis, "I am Joseph, your brother." The Pope was right to quote this story, and we are lucky to read it again on this Shabbat that coincides with Christmas. The conclusion of the Joseph story is the story of siblings separated by every power in the universe. They are separated by a series of actions they undertook that made the other feel insignificant. The favored child bragging to his brothers that their father loves him more. The older brothers tossing Joseph into the pit, leaving him there and telling their father he had died. But they're also separated by nationality at this point. Joseph is now thoroughly Egyptian. Time has passed. He's married an Egyptian woman. He's named his children with Egyptian names. He lives as a leader under Pharaoh with wealth and power. His brothers, though, remain Israelites, poor and famished from the extensive drought. They are worlds apart like Jews and Christians on Christmas Day, like Europeans divided during the world wars, like Jews and the Catholic Church prior to Vatican II. But Joseph is overwhelmed with emotion as he sees his brother, and he says, as Pope John rightfully quoted, "I am Joseph, your brother." Just 3 words in Hebrew, Ani Yosef Achichem. Those 3 words bring together these very distant worlds, draw those who have been separated back into one family. But while the Pope quoted just the single verse, today on this uniquely shared date of holidays, in this very unique year, we can take a lot from the verse that follows. In utter amazement from what they have just heard from Joseph's own mouth, not knowing it was Joseph until that moment, the Torah tells us that the brothers stand there in awe and are speechless. And so Joseph continues to speak. "I am Joseph, your brother. Do not worry about what has happened in the past. God sent me ahead to save lives." Not only does Joseph speak up to bring these 2 opposing sides of his world together, he explains that he has something to offer. He explains that he has a purpose on this day beyond drawing them closer to one another. He believes he is there for a reason. I hope this is how we see ourselves on this day as well. This day when Shabbat and Christmas coincide, this day when we, like our Christian brothers and sisters, are at home without a crowd, without extensive celebrations, a day when we are brought together beyond the day that usually distinguishes us from one another, and a day when we as a Jewish community have a specific purpose. We have something to offer the Christian community. We can offer them our sympathy, our compassion, our wisdom, our empathy, because it was just a few months ago that we were here. In this case, because the pandemic started in March, we've been here before them. We were here at Passover, we were here at Rosh Hashanah, and we were here during Yom Kippur. And so yesterday I wrote to my Christian colleagues, not with any specific advice, but with sympathy. For this week must have been one of the strangest in their career. And for all of us, we have Christian friends, and for many of us, we have Christian family. If you have not already, I hope you will reach out to them in this moment. Remind them that we are here as their brothers and sisters this year. Remind them that we've been through something quite like this day for them. And perhaps we can also say humbly that when it feels like you are making an immense personal sacrifice, that the world is unfair, that something's been taken from you, that we can say, what you're doing saves lives. Just as we did, just as friends told us. And so we can share in our struggles to observe our holidays, we can share in our achievements to make them happen amidst the challenges of the world. And we can create a conversation, a dialogue that brings religious siblings together on a day that so often pushes them apart. And we can still eat our Chinese food, and we can still be in our pajamas. And this year, we can share our compassion, help people stay home, remind them that they are saving lives because we've been here, and we can share in the holiday season. Shabbat Shalom. Merry Christmas. May we enjoy these holidays safely, securely, and together.